Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now today I'm going to talk to a company called Templafy, which is one of the fastest growing IT companies in the whole of Scandinavia. And it's already changing the way that large enterprises work with those familiar products such as Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Outlook and Excel. Yes, we've all used them from time to time, I'm sure. But their software is helping branding, compliance and IT teams in large enterprises to govern and optimize the way that employees create documents, presentations and emails, all the way across Microsoft Office or Office 365 applications, and making best practice company content accessible right where employees work. But this show is not just about a company and a solution and the technology, it's also about the stories and the people behind them. And Jean-Marc, who was a former lawyer in the US Navy, has a fantastic story, and I loved hearing about how he entered the world of technology. And he's really fascinated by the trend that he's seeing with the other old school professions. And he's really fascinated by the trend that he's seeing with the old school professions and now going new age. And he personally went from working on legal cases to facilitating digital transformation across the enterprise. And while that's not a typical career move, it is increasingly becoming commonplace today. So I want to explore that a little bit because, like he explained, entrepreneurs and startup culture seem to be driving lawyers out of the courthouses and into Silicon Valley. And today's guest is one of those guys I've just hit it off with straight away. And I could have chatted to him for absolutely hours about everything from tech trends to Miami versus Vegas pool parties. But I guess that's a conversation for another podcast. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to New York, where Jean-Marc is waiting to speak with us and share his story and the great work that they're doing at Templafy. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
My name is Jean-Marc Chanoine, and I head some of our strategic account initiatives here at Templafy. And really, most of the work that I do is just making sure that we're taking care of our large multinational clients and really marketing to them in the right way. Because I guess when you're dealing with larger organizations, getting to the top can be a situation that's full of different pitfalls, and just making sure that we're delivering, the right services, the right messages, and really doing the right thing to make sure that we're, truly getting to them in the right way. As far as a little bit about myself, I'm originally from Miami, Florida, been in the U.S. my whole life. Always wanted to be a lawyer, went over to law school over at Georgetown Law, finished that, joined the military. So I ended up being a defense attorney for 2 years, keeping people out of prison for a bit. Then went over to the nuclear Navy, where I was the general counsel of Naval Nuclear Power Training Command, where we trained our nuclear operators. And then I got a real taste for practicing law and wasn't 100% what I was destined to do. And I really got a taste of technology and really learning about what document management looks like and how individuals work with tech to make sure that things work the right way. So from there, went to Accenture, actually went to business school at Berkeley and then joined Accenture. And then I really fell in love with tech. So, that really brings me here today to Templafy, where I was shopping for software for one of Accenture's clients. And I accidentally found Templafy on Google and said, you know what, this is a company that I want to work for.
Wow, what a fantastic story, because it's not a traditional route into the tech industry. And it also, from speaking to people every single day on this podcast, it often feels like the universe just gives you a little nudge in the right direction sometimes. It certainly feels that way, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's sometimes life just comes at you. It comes to you. You don't go looking for it. And I can tell you, I was sitting in front of my computer. I was, scratching my head trying to figure out how to solve this contract lifecycle management issue. And then out of nowhere, I guess whoever they're paying on the back end on the advertisings Templafy showed up. I clicked on the link and I'm like, wow, this thing would have solved every issue I've had for the past few months and would have saved millions of dollars had we just had this earlier. So it was, to me, I saw the future there and made the move.
Now, I last spoke with Christian Lund, I think it was on episode 607 of this podcast last August, and I seem to remember that Templafy had beaten nearly 3,000 nominees to reach the 5 national finalists for the Nordic Startup of the Year award. So how has life been at Templafy since that award? Very busy, it sounds like, from what I've been reading online.
Oh, it's been extremely, been electric. I think that's the best word I can use. I think there's a lot of buzz here. There's a lot of interest, inbound, outbound. For us, it's really this moment to really seize on it, to really try to expand as quickly as we can. People are beginning to really recognize us as a leader in the field of document creation and really document perfection is another way to describe it.
So for everyone listening today that's just hearing about Templafy for the first time, can you just tell me a little bit more about the kind of problems that you solve there and what makes it different from all those other solutions that are out there?
So really the problem we're solving is something we'd like to call document anarchy, right? And what do I mean by that? Someone walks into work and they're using old documents that they've created for other purposes. They keep on editing them. They're using content that may or may not be following brand guidelines. And what we help is govern that, right? We really help companies have some control about the documents that are really leaving their company that do end up in front of clients. So, when someone's doing a TV ad or they're sending off an advertising, there's so much command and control. There's so many meetings to make sure it's perfect. But what about your frontline workers? Those are the people that are really sending out the most communication. They are the face of the company. They are the ones doing the work. And what we try to do at Templafy is to make sure that it's as easy as possible for them to be able to create those materials. So what we're about is giving the management the control over the nature and type of content that the employees are creating. And on top of it, we have this layer where we have automated checks. So instead of someone sitting there, with their eyes glazing over, going over a presentation for the 5th time, we're able to use automation in order to actually detect some of the most common errors in those docs. So really what we do from end to end is help companies deliver content as quickly as possible and for it to be perfect almost every time.
There's a lot of talk at the moment about cloud services and how they're changing the way people work. So, what trends are you noticing there and what kind of role is Templafy playing in those changes?
What you're seeing now is a lot of legacy industries moving towards the cloud. I think that if you think about it from a management standpoint, you have a lot of senior people that, they don't know what the cloud is. There's IT and security concerns out there. And finally, we're getting to a tipping point where cloud services are becoming the standard and the norm. The idea of having instant updates, the idea that software improves over time without it being a massive manual task. I think we're living in the age of digital transformation, and companies are beginning to realize that cloud is the way forward. So really the trend is to move towards the cloud, move towards solutions that don't require you to be anchored in a specific location, move towards solutions where you're not actually managing physical infrastructure, because it's really about letting the experts do that. What clients really need are solutions. And I think what cloud does is it turns you from an entity that's really trying to manage all of this IT infrastructure to one that's receiving services. And ultimately, this is the most efficient way. So really, Templafy, we're at the forefront of this. We're really leveraging cloud technology in order to deliver our service way possible while still maintaining security and making sure that clients feel confident. I think what's really happening right now is that there's an increase in confidence in cloud solutions, and I believe companies are really moving towards in that direction.
Now, I recently read a great story about how Templafy documents the best way to keep firms on brand. That's so important now. But anyone that missed that story, can you tell the listeners a little bit more about it?
Yeah, of course. Let's give an example, right? You have a company, they spend a bunch of money on getting the right brand, getting the right design, picking the right fonts, picking the right formatting. And then they're relying on the user to be able to have this inherent knowledge when they're creating documents. What we do is to take that knowledge and automatically apply it to the presentations that they're creating. So when they go on to Templafy, right, that's available right in the apps that they use the most, whether it's PowerPoint, Excel, Word, Outlook, it's right there in their face. So what it does, it makes being compliant the path of least resistance. It's very passive. So you can imagine you're a user, you pull out a Templafy template, it has everything where it's supposed to be, as designed by management. So really what we're about is taking all of those instructions, all of those rules, and making it a passive event for users. And you know what? Everybody wants to go home by 5 p.m., right? They want to get home. They want to take less time, right? And really that's the key here. We save them time because they don't have to figure out what's the right template. The template is right there in their face.
So I'm curious, what are the biggest challenges customers are coming and asking to your help with over there at Templafy? I mean, are there any trends, and how do you inspire people to actually work differently and use your technology?
Really, it has to do with access and distribution, right? Where do you access your templates? Now, let's take a company that doesn't have Templafy, and let's say that they're emailing users the latest and greatest template, right? That they're having to go to IT to configure these templates directly in the tools. Really, what we're doing is telling them that we can save them a lot of time and energy in that entire process, right? The process of actually distributing the right template to 100,000 users, you can instantly do that with Templafy. And really what we're talking about is not just governance, but it just saves time and energy and management, right? What we do is bring simplicity to the entire effort. So the way you try to change hearts and minds on this issue and change the way people work is really, again, what I was saying earlier. If I can do it in less time and you convince the right people, right, within the organization that, yes, all of your employees are going to save time and energy, you can do more with less, or you can just save people time generally. And everyone's attracted to that idea. So with Templafy, once people see it, they understand it, they get it. They understand they can distribute instantly. They understand that individuals can edit slides by pulling in bespoke content directly in the tool. They understand that they can have those automated checks. So what we're saying is that if you look at a balance sheet, one of the sides of that is cost, and then one of the biggest costs is employees, employee time, employee, really resources, IT resources. And what we do is shave off of that because we're able to do it much more efficiently than most companies do today.
Now, given the changing dynamic of marketing technology and the whole landscape there, where do you see Templafy fitting in a CMO stack right now?
I think it could be the fundamental, like the base of it, right? It really can be, because if you think about the points of contact, right? So let's say you're doing a lot of work in, let's say, digital advertising, right? You're touching on a large group of people, right? But let's think about the members of your staff and the people that are working in all of their communications to the outside world, right? Millions and millions of communications. Wouldn't you want those to actually also be part of the marketing effort? To me, it's a completely untapped portion, right? And what you can really do is that Templafy can become the base of your technology stack, right? And what I mean by that is that you can fundamentally, as a marketing team, make sure that the entire organization is on point with branding, is on point with marketing messages, right? So I think it's about leveraging technologies that are as horizontal as Templafy, that really touch on every single user in the org, as being fundamental to a CMO's tech stack.
Now, obviously, I'm talking to you in New York right now, but I believe Templafy is the fastest growing company in Denmark with under 1,000 employees. I mean, what do you think the secret is to your success at Templafy?
It's a great product. I mean, the reality is you see it, you'll want it. And it's not a question of if you want it, it's a question of how much you want to spend on it, right? I have yet to have a customer see Templafy and not see the value, right? So there's this saying out there that the best salespeople sell the best products, and that's true, right? It's easy to grow when your IT departments, clearly can see how they can benefit from a Templafy. It's easy to see how we can grow extremely quickly when, if you take away Templafy from someone, they really do miss it. Right? It's one of those fundamental tools that once an individual has an opportunity to really get used to it, that it's fundamental. So really our growth has been based on having an excellent product, a great value proposition, and anyone who sees it gets it. I don't have to sit there and explain to someone for a very long time why this tool would be valuable to them. So our growth, I believe, trajectory is going to hockey stick, right? It's going to be explosive just because every time an individual sees it, they tell someone else about it. That person tells someone else about it. We have our marketing efforts of really spreading out. So really, it's hard to keep up, ultimately with the demand because, once you see it, you'll want it.
So what's next for Templafy then? I appreciate you probably can't reveal too much about what's the kind of things that you're planning, but is there anything else that you can share about the road ahead?
Absolutely. And I think what you're going to see from Templafy in the very near future is going to be a lot around data, analytics, thinking about not just that individuals are creating on-brand content all the time, more around the fact of how are they creating that content, what type of content. So what we're going to be focusing on in the near future is really looking at the data and how you can actually leverage that data in order to make better decisions, especially on the content creation side of the house. Also adding a layer of artificial intelligence where we can help people make the right decisions in their choices, in their presentations, in their documents, and really helping make the holistic approach of document creation, where we're looking at data, we're looking at technology assistance, and overall creating a user experience that is optimal and unmatched in the industry. So, I'm really excited about the future. I think that we're really going to be doing some cool things in the next couple months to a year, and I'm excited.
And for anyone that's listening that wants to find out a little bit more information, or we've left them with a few more questions that they want to ask, what's the best way of finding you guys online and maybe just contacting your team if they do have any additional questions?
Oh, no, easy. You'd go to www.templafy.com and all the information you need will be right there. And if they go on our site, we'll definitely have one of our representatives quickly contact them if they're interested in learning a little bit more about Templafy.
Well, I love what you're doing at Templafy, but I would say even more than that, I love your unique story and your journey that led you to Templafy too. So thanks so much for joining me today and for actually sharing that story with me. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course. Excellent. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you, and I'm really excited about the future. So hopefully we'll catch up again soon. Should be great.
Jean-Marc was a great guy, and I love his backstory and everything that they're doing at Templafy. And that smart way to manage and dynamically update and share business templates and brand assets throughout an entire organisation from anywhere and from any device certainly sounds like a much needed step in the right direction to me. But I cannot tell you how hard it was for me to not burst in and replace Templafy and start singing Simple Minds' Sanctify Yourself. That's one for you older listeners there, and regular listeners will know all about my musical Tourette's, where occasionally it can strike at any moment, where it can strike at any moment, and occasionally I can turn almost anything I hear into a song. I don't know, maybe Templafy could actually use Sanctify Yourself by Simple Minds in a future marketing campaign. And if they do, you guys listening are my witness. We'll split that down the middle. Sound like a deal? Good. Okay, I'm rambling now. So please pass on your thoughts today about anything that you heard, or if you want to ask me any questions, by emailing me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. You get me on Twitter and Instagram at Neil C. Hughes, and connect with me on LinkedIn at Neil C. Hughes too. So a big thank you for listening as always, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.